The rhythm of Southern California.
93 KHJ.
Los Angeles.
You'd think the people would have had enough until the love song. We're gonna get high with the music on. You are the river, I am the stream. Flow, mighty river. Little love, with a little love, with a little rock, a little rock, a little love. When will you see me, my salamander? Don't say it, don't say it. You can say anything, but don't say goodnight, goodnight, night, night.
93 KHJ presents The Wings Special. 2 hours with Paul and Linda McCartney, the rest of the current Wings lineup, and their award-winning music.
When a master musician like Paul McCartney decides it's time for a change, you know it's going to be exciting, adventurous, and a totally unique musical experience.
For the band on the run, band on the run.
When a composer and performer with a proven track record of Paul McCartney feels the need to branch out into new musical areas, you know you'll be hearing recorded sound like you've never heard it before.
For the band on the run, band on the run.
And when a rock and roll legend like Paul McCartney wants to open up about this ongoing change and evolving musical style in a relaxed session of questions, answers, jokes, and thoughtful reflection, you know you'll be closer to Paul McCartney than you've ever come. Paul McCartney and Wings, their words and music.
Every day she takes a morning bath, she wipes her head, wraps a towel around her as she's heading for the bedroom chair. It's just another day. It's just another day. It's just another day.
In books about me, I've never yet read any one book that kind of tells the truth. Because even like there's one called The Official Autobiography of the Beatles by Hunter Davis, where he came round and sat us all down and talked to us and got all our recollections, and he's got most of it there. But it's still not quite right, and I couldn't tell you what isn't right about it, but it still doesn't capture the real feeling that went on. Although it does, like, that probably does the best job of all of them. But there's a book by Alan Williams, and he's just got us as the biggest lunatics on earth, you know, doing all crazy things like, and okay, we were crazy, but not in the way he described it. I mean, the thing about Alan, anyway, he drove us over to Hamburg, and then he left. So I don't know where he got the story from, you know, he must have got it at least third hand. But he's a good lad, you know, I can't blame him. He wants to write a book, you know, he's a good little fella. They just pick up one little angle and they play that up, you know. And of course, just to the left and to the right of that angle is the real story.
Whatever really happened in the past, the musical reality of the 1980s is upon us. Paul McCartney plans to face the next decade with his band Wings and their tight new lineup, along with a familiar face or two from previous Wings albums.
We started the group about a year ago with the new lineup with Steve and Lawrence, and we already had Denny, Linda and myself. We could have gone out then, but we would have had to do the old lineup's material. So it would have meant for Steve and Lawrence that they were having to play other people's parts, which is a bit of a drag, really, because they feel a bit... I mean, I'd feel sorry for them, really, if they just had to play other people's creations.
I love all the songs, so I play them, you know. But the only thing is like going out that soon, after that, it was still in the air, then I would literally have had to go out playing kind of like the way Joe would play, and I don't play the same way as he does, so I think like all the material we just got, like, you just got to shake it around. The songs are still there, but I'd like to be able to have the time to inject my own style into it.
The thing about Lawrence and Steve is that they can play anything. I mean, probably if you had to put it in a nutshell, probably like he says, English backbeats is probably
But it's more, a little bit more than that. It's more involved because, like, I've been through 1,000,001 different styles of music from the time I started. I was sort of like brought up in big band jazz with them folks, and the first band I went to was like a heavy metal rock band. It was the first thing I ever did professionally. And since that, I've done like folk groups and reggae bands, and worked with like Jimmy Cliff's backing band, and just like so many different styles that you take in a lot, and it comes out your way.
Well said.
I did it my way.
Wings' new drummer, Steve Holley, was practically hand-picked by longtime Wings member Denny Lane.
Steve happens to be a neighbour of mine. I've known him for about 3 or 4 years before the group, and I got him the job. No, it's, I knew him, I played with him, introduced him to Paul.
Paul rubbish?
Lawrence I met on the David Essex show, which is a TV show, and that's how that came together.
Yeah, well, when I first met him, he was cleaning my guitar strings. And I said, that's enough of that, kid. And he said, no, please, sir, let me do some more. I said, look, son, if you got some energy, do my boots. Well, after he'd done my boots, I sort of realised I was some kind of hero of the lads. And I asked him to join the group.
Paul, Linda, Denny, Steve, and additional new Wings recruit Lawrence Juber have more in common than the time they share in the studio or on stage.
I've had the same sort of heroes as Paul, like Buddy Holly, Elvis, Jerry Lee Lewis, Chuck Berry. They were then. I don't think these days I sort of have that many heroes, because I've met most of them. They don't come up to it a lot of the time. Well, yes and no, but I don't find myself having that many heroes these days. Yeah, I mean, if I see somebody playing good one night, he's my hero for a bit until he starts going over the top, or not.
The era's slightly different, really, to like Paul and Denny, because like I'm about 10 years behind to some extent, So
That's a nice way of putting it.
Well, it is, and I just like a lot of music, an awful lot of music, and I grew up with the Shadows and the Beatles and and Chuck Berry. I hooked onto very young and stuff like that, and now I think, I just enjoy an awful lot of music.
When I grew up, I think Paul was like one of my big heroes,
Now look at your chance now.
I'm just trying to get a raise.
No chance. No.
Oh, well, in that case.
In that case, it was George.
But I think it's just down to like anybody good, like Denny was saying. I mean, there's a lot of people that I like, and I couldn't just sit here and list them all because there's just too many people. And sometimes you walk down the street and there's somebody busking who's just so good that it takes you away. So that's really it. Anybody that turns me on.
Paul McCartney talks about his philosophy of disco on the KHJ Wings special.